Hey, what's going on? It's Sheldon with Blackout Electric. I just want to go over a couple things with saunas. We've done a couple of them recently, and clients have had a couple questions, so I want to be able to answer, the power requirements, where you're going to get power from, maybe the types of saunas, any questions that you guys might have. I want to be able to answer. So if I don't answer in this video, feel free to reach out to us. Blackoutelectric.us, that's our website. So first and foremost, I just want to go over types of saunas. So there's two types of saunas. One is an infrared sauna. They're usually a lot less of a power requirement than a wet dry sauna. An infrared sauna basically just uses light, almost like a tanning bed, and you get your radiant heat or just directly from the light itself. And so those usually don't require much. They just require a dedicated 120 volts plug, just like what you would have, in your garage or whatever. Those are usually indoor saunas. You don't find them outside a lot, and they just come in as an assembly. The other type of sauna is a wet dry sauna. So those saunas are the ones with the heaters. You'll see those at the gym a lot of times. You pour the water on it. They get way hotter, and they have very different power requirements. It's almost like wiring an oven. There are a few different sizes. Harvia, I think it's Harvia. That's the brand that we put in a lot. They're a super good brand. I haven't heard any complaints from them. You always want to go for the 8 if you can. It's the biggest one that they have that I know of. They usually say, if you have a smaller space, like if your sauna's not as big, then you don't need as much of a heater. You could get away with like a 5 kilowatt or whatever. Just out of personal experience, I would say get the biggest one that you can, because the thing with the heater is the bigger that the heater is, the more kilowatt it is, the faster that sauna heats up. And so the one thing that you're waiting on is for that sauna to get to temperature. So, instead of waiting like 20, 30 minutes or, even an hour sometimes, just depending on the temperature outside, it's going to reduce that time quite a bit, and they can get a lot hotter. So that's just my personal opinion. It does cost a lot more, not a lot more, but it does cost more because you're having a bigger power bill, right? Because it takes, it's a bigger kilowatt. The unit itself is more expensive. The wiring is more expensive. So there is downside. It's all cost related, but outside of cost, there is no downside. The only place that you can get power from is your panel, right? These aren't something that you can just tap off of a nearby receptacle. Even an infrared sauna, it needs to have its own dedicated circuit. That means that power ultimately has to come from the panel. So what we would do is we would find a route from your panel to your sauna, wherever you want that to be. Usually it's outside, and usually people pour a pad, or they put, decorative stones or whatever. So what we do is on the building, we're going to run EMT. It's electrical metallic tubing. Best thing you could do. A lot of companies will run flex. It's totally legal to run flex. We just care a lot about how it looks in the end, and nothing looks better than EMT. So that's why we run it. We run it because it's the strongest and it's the most attractive. It does take a little bit more to put it in. We have to bend that conduit with a conduit bender, and so it takes time to do that and to do it right. But that's what we do. We run EMT, and then as soon as it hits the ground, maybe like a foot above, we'll run a little piece of flex. That'll help the ground. If the ground settles, it'll help the conduit, basically from expansion and contraction. And then when we're underground, we run PVC. And as soon as we come out, as soon as we can, we run back to EMT. Always EMT. It's always just a better choice. One thing to think about is a disconnect. So saunas need a disconnect, and it has to be within sight. Code has a definition for that. It means within 50 feet and visible. So within sight doesn't mean 100 feet away. It means 50 feet or closer. So here on this sauna, we ran a disconnect directly on the unit itself. And you'll see also below we have a receptacle. So the thing with that is the sauna, the heater is one circuit. It's its own dedicated circuit. And what gets forgotten sometimes is lighting. The 120 volt plug that you see right below that disconnect, the client is going to use that to power their lighting. This sauna comes with a bench, an LED lighting that's underneath their bench, and they're going to use this separate circuit and that power for their lighting because they want to use it at night. And that's something that often gets forgotten. When we write these quotes out, we write them, one part of the quote is for the 240 volt for the heater, and then the other part is for 120 volt, and that's for, honestly, it's for whatever you want, but usually it's for lighting. But you know, if you wanted to be creative and you wanted some landscape lighting, you could totally tap off of that. There's no reason that you couldn't. Here's another sauna. It's a barrel sauna. This one was used. The client assembled it. We have a panel on the left side. So that is a sub panel that has enough power to power. You can see there's a little section off to the left, the patio, and that would be for a hot tub. And then they also have a sauna on the right, and then they also have a shed, right? So they needed quite a bit of power out there. And who knows, maybe they want to expand, and that panel will allow for that. You can have your sauna circuit for the heater, sauna circuit for the lighting. You can have your shed circuit. You can have your hot tub circuit. And then, you know, let's say you wanted a convenience receptacle, you can have a separate circuit for that. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions or you need a quote on one, feel free to reach out. I would say our average sauna install is right around $2,500. And so if that's within your budget, that includes permitting, your lighting circuit. That is an average, so it could be more, it could be less. It just depends on, you know, distance. But I'd say right around $2,500 is what you should expect to pay for electrical. That would cover your permitting, your conduit, labor, which is always the most expensive, and all the material that goes along with it. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Blackoutelectric.us. You can contact our office. Yeah.